The next concept that we're going to discuss is domain of rational functions. So we're working real hard to graph these and to find your holes and vertical asymptotes. Now we're going to talk about your domain. Okay, and again, domain means what values are you allowed to put into the function and actually get something out. And so what you're going to find with these rational functions is a lot of values will give you an error. And that really relates to that one concept that I've been harping on. You can't divide by zero. Okay, you're not allowed to divide by zero. And if you don't believe me, plug it into your calculator and see what your calculator says when you try to do that. Okay, but it's a big time error, and so you have to be real cautious about it. So because of that, every single time that you do your domain, it's going to start off all real numbers except, and it's going to be followed by whatever values are going to make your bottom of your fraction 0, because that's, again, you cannot divide by 0. Okay, so these values that you cannot divide by, those are called your restrictions and x values. So we're just going to jump into an example. Alright, so again, I've mentioned that your domain, it's important about the bottom part. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at the bottom, and these are your factors on bottom, x minus 7 and x plus 4. And what we're saying is they can't equal 0. Alright, so the best thing for us to do is find out when they are actually equal to 0. And those are the values that are not part of your domain. So that would mean when x equals 7 and when x equals negative 4. So your domain would be all real numbers except for 7 and negative 4. And those are called your excluded values. 7 and negative 4 are excluded or restricted. Same thing here. On example 2, you want to take your bottom part, your factors, you're going to set them equal to 0 and find out what values those are. Okay, so that would be at negative 4, positive 3, and negative 2. Those are the values that are not part of your domain, and that's because they're called excluded values. They're going to make the bottom part equal to 0, which is an issue because you can't divide by 0. So moving on to example 3. When you do this, take each factor, 2x equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, if you solve each one of those, you would get your excluded values, which are the values that are not part of your domain. That would be 0, 3, and negative 3. Alright? So every other number that you could possibly think of is in your domain except for those three values, 0, 3, and negative 3. And for my final example, example 4, take the function 8 multiplied by x plus 2 times x minus 3, all divided by 2 times x minus 5. You're going to want to look at the bottom part again and take your factors and set them equal to 0. Okay, so something should kind of stand out. When you see this, 2 equals 0, that could never happen, and that's why really what you're wanting to do is set your linear factors, something that actually could equal 0. So this is really not even important. Okay, because that could never happen. But here, x could equal 0 with this, and if that would be at 5. So that's why your domain is all real numbers except for 5, and that's why 5 is one of your excluded values. So again, finding domain, very simple. It's all real numbers except the values on bottom that will make you 0.